you have anything to report before I jump right into it here, or no?
Report.
Yeah, anything going on? Anything new and fresh in the life of Andy?
I guess the only thing I'll say is we got one of our new players from Sudbury. We got two new players from Sudbury for your team, U13 team, and you obviously asked me the other day to come into this meeting on my day off.
Well, I figured you guys knew each other.
No, I'm being funny. Of course, I came in for that for anybody, right? But it was good. So funny. I don't pretend to ask questions or ask questions that I don't know what the sentence is, but so Andrew Dale, who's the father of this Grady that's coming to the school, so he came into the OHL a couple of years after me. So he probably would have watched me play hockey, most likely. We didn't get into that, but he knows my life a little bit, watches the podcast too, but he played for the Sudbury Wolves, was a good pro. But when you said that his son was considering coming down, first thing I said, well, he was a good player. Like, dad was a good player, a really good player. And so it was nice to have him down here, and I thought he was just kicking tires, to be honest with you, but it was a pretty good hike because he was down south. He was like in the Toronto area, but he was down south. But I was saying that to Charlie on the weekend. I said, dude, it's so funny when you meet hockey players. Like, there's a little bit of connection. It's like you just immediately talk the same language. Like, it's amazing. You don't have to tippy toe around any subject. You say what it is, and you get each other's jokes and stuff. It's very funny. Yeah, it's very funny. Anyways, it was great. Never met him before in my life, I don't think. But it was great. Real smart guy. Worked with the Wolves for a little bit. Does some good stuff now, and nice family. So it's good to have him. That was a really good connection that we had there for the team.
Yeah, it is cool.
I think it's gonna be good. And then I think he probably feels a little bit safer knowing that I'm around.
Yeah,
not safer.
It's a little more confidence. Yeah,
because he knows he can pick up the phone and call me, and I can have a conversation. He knows I'm going to tell his kid the way it is.
Yeah, I can't really imagine what that's like. When your kid moves like that, because like I did it when I had to bill it, but I don't have a kid, so I don't know that side of it. Like when you have to watch a kid move away, or it's about the time where they need to move away anyways, and like they got to start making some decisions, or even for kids when their parents go away to school and like that kind of stuff. I don't really know what that's like, so it's kind of an interesting. I try to approach that with as much, not really open-mindedness. That's not really what I want to say, but. And sympathy is not the word either. One of those kind of words for just the perspective of the parent, some understanding for the parent side of it, even though I don't understand because I don't have the kids, but like trying to keep that in mind of like, that's what we're talking about, their kids moving.
Yeah.
And how significant that is. What's that?
What does a banana taste like?
That's right. There it is again, right?
Until it happens, right? I can tell you this. That was like probably the biggest thing for me when my kid moved away at 15 years old. This is the dream, and this is what you want to do, and this is what you have to do. And then when you drop them off, or you meet the people, or you go to the house, like all those unknowns, you're sitting there going, hope it's a good house. Because there's some horror stories when I played, and even, there's still the odd one that you sit there and you go, man. And I'm not talking, I'm horror stories in the sense that food's no good, there's no food, stuff like that, like just a really bad billet house. Like there's people around there that, there are those people out there, but then there's mostly good people, right? But then you just think about, it's just all the little things, right? Like, is your kid, like, just from a parent's point of view, right? Like, you assuming that you raised a kid that could function in a different household. That's why it was always like, when you go to someone's house, you make sure you offer to do the dishes or do them, put your stuff away, learn how to be a good human, communicate, start a conversation, be polite, don't overstep things, but be comfortable enough that they like you and all that kind of stuff and want you back. So when you do move away, you have like the basics of living in someone else's house. But what you worry about is just like that was my biggest thing, is when I walked into his billet home the first time, and they're the best ever. But the first time we walked in my head, being a hockey player and being a dad now, when we walked into this house and they showed him his room because we dropped him off that day, I went in that room and I'm like, okay, this is the place where he's going to cry on a November 22nd at, after a shitty week of practice or a month long, and it's cold and it's away from home, and I just want to come home. I don't want to do this practice shit anymore. I don't want to be on the fourth line. I just want to be treated like a valuable human again, like in reality. And the only people that you have are your buddies on your team, and those days are the real things. Okay, that's the room he's going to cry in. I hope the parents are normal, like, because everybody can, time reveals everything, right? So those are the things. Then you sit there and you get emotional, and you get, like, I think most people would. I did. And then you start to worry, and then you ease into it. But having said that, talking with my kid this morning about the difference about being a pro and being a junior player, he goes, like, the one thing I'm looking forward to being a pro is like actually being an adult now, being responsible for things, and he goes, like, whatever, right? I'm going down a rabbit hole here. And I said, yeah, you'll figure it out, right? I said, this is what I always used to tell your mom, like when we used to, get on kids, like one of the kids, like, for leaving their shit out or not cleaning their room and all that kind of stuff. Like, at some point you figure it out, because when it doesn't matter anymore. So when you move to someone's house, you say, when your kid moves to a billet home, you sit there and go, I hope they pick up their dishes or whatever, right? Like, don't be an ass like you are at home. But at some point you figure it out when it becomes your stuff, right? Like when you're at home, I'm guilty of this. Like, I probably at some point should, when he was younger, say, I'm leaving at 8:00 tomorrow, and if you're not up, I'm out, and actually do it once or twice. But I always went upstairs and, hey, I'm leaving in 5. I'll give him the warning shot. But maybe when it's his own life, right? When your kids get older, they figure it out because no one else is going to get them. So when you put them in the fire, they respond. They learn how to do dishes. They learn how to clean up. They learn that, that thing that's been sitting on, leaning or laying in the middle of the floor for 3 months. It's my house now. I'll pick it up because it matters to them now. So the point is that they do learn, and, like, you figure it out when you're on your own, right? So you become an adult. Yeah. So
it's interesting.
That's an interesting thing. But yeah, moving away from home for a parent is, it's a hard thing. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, I can't imagine, but maybe at some point I'm sure I'll run into it, same as you, and then I'll ask you about it again. But so we're gonna do a Q&A episode today. We haven't done one of these in a while, so I took a bunch of messages, DMs, emails, and stuff that we got because we haven't done one of these in a while. So some of these would be maybe answers we've given or questions that we've addressed before. But what I like about this is a lot of times people ask a question that's there's like a little bit of precision to the question, so we can, maybe not just give a generic answer, which is good. And some of them might still be generic, just depending on the question. So I got to try to get a good mix of parent questions, coach questions, and player questions. So I'm gonna see. We'll see what happens here. Okay. So the first one, this is from Sarah. She's from Calgary. She said, my son just made his first year of U13 AAA, and we're getting bombarded with offers for extra skill sessions, private skills coaching, or skating coaching, and off-ice speed work. All on top of his regular team practices. Some parents are doing everything and dropping $1,000 plus a month. I'm torn between trying to give him every opportunity and just letting him enjoy the game without burning him out. At 12 years old, what's actually necessary versus what's noise? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a really good question.
So I'll toss it to you first. So summary, kid, it's his first year of AAA. They're getting hammered with all these extra things they can do on top of the regular practices. Wants to give the kid the opportunity, but wants him to enjoy the game also. What is necessary? So what are your thoughts?
Well, the answer is 12. The answer is 12. So a 12-year-old boy, you can argue he doesn't know if he wants to be a hockey player yet. And you could, first year AAA, it's good. That's awesome. He might turn out to be a really good player. 12 years old, you don't really have to do anything. You don't have to do anything, is have to. And most of it is probably unnecessary.
So if you had, let's say there's a collection of things you could do. So the example she gave was, what do we have here? Extra skill sessions, private skating coach, off-ice speed work were the 3 examples she gave. So if you have things like that and you're going to pick some, what's the math to decide whether or not it's something to do versus not?
Well, okay. So the math is if you're playing any other sports, because that's important. Number 2 is, like, if I was to pick anything, I'd pick something that would be that would definitely help a deficiency. Okay. So that would be number one. So if he's got a really good shot, he probably doesn't have to go to a whole lot of shooting classes. If he's really slow, then skating a speed coach might be good. If he's a really good skater, then a power skating class might not be what he needs, etc. But I would, that's what I would say. You look at the deficiency that you have, and then you maybe look at it, maybe attack that. Having said that, at 12 years old, if you were, let's say, lacking speed or that burst of speed or strength, you're 12. So it's like that could be just the cause of why you're not fast or explosive. You're just young and you haven't really you really can't tap into that yet until you get testosterone and you start actually working out. So that's another issue. The other issue would be just because you're going to a speed coach doesn't make him a speed coach. Just because you go to a shooting coach doesn't make him a good shooting coach. Just because you get an agent doesn't mean it's a good agent. That's the other thing. And that's where you want to do a little bit of homework. So having said that, if you're putting a gun to my head to say pick one, I would find a decent once a week-ish thing, maybe tops twice a week in the summertime, where you're doing a little combination of everything, because you're 12 years old. You're not specializing in anything yet. And then more importantly, spend time on your own just to figure yourself out. Yeah. That's my thing.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I don't get on the bandwagon of for people. I know sometimes they want to hear a power skating coach is a really good thing. You can't go wrong, but it's just like the longer and longer and longer I'm into this hockey business, the more I realize that there's so much overkill out there, and as a lot of our kids get older, we back off a lot of stuff because it's just not necessary stuff. And what you thought was really, really important. I was just talking to someone yesterday about, it was about agents and stuff like that, because they're making a decision, basically roughly the same age, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, and he got it though. 13 years old, a lot of things can change.
Next one's from Mike. He's a coach. He's from Rochester. He says, I coach a 15U team. We've got a lot of talented kids. They have good hands, decent skating, but zero compete. They'll dance in drills, but vanish when the puck's in a corner. I've tried bag skates, some video sessions, 3-on-3 compete games in practice, you name it. It's like they expect success without the dirty work. How would you guys go about flipping that mindset, especially when they're all used to being the skilled guys in quotations? So 16U would be the equivalent of our 2010 group, right? 2010
yeah. Is it what level is that? It's actually kind of important.
He said 15U team, a lot of talented kids. Let's speak as if it's a AAA team or a AAA level team. So that'd be max team last year, right? Or this year coming up. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, okay. So like there's maybe I've got a couple thoughts. One, sometimes you have to coach to what you have, right? So if you have a all skilled team that doesn't want to have any physicality whatsoever, you might have to try to coach around that. And I mean, so maybe you have, and this is not my answer, but this is like I'm trying to help an idea out here. The guy's idea. So maybe you're going to get very frustrated because they're not playing the way you want, and I would agree with you. But if it's to the point where it's uncoachable and it's just there's no response and you're losing your mind over it, well, like maybe the question should be, how can I help them be good at what they do? And maybe that is, instead of because you're not going to without physicality, like finishing checks and getting in on forechecks and waiting around for the freebies in the slot or on the perimeter, you're probably not going to get a lot of pucks. You're not going to retrieve a lot of pucks or turn over a lot of pucks. So maybe the answer is to be really totally defensive minded, maybe a really, really passive 1-2-2 where the objective is to take away the middle of the ice and the neutral zone and stuff and look for breakaways, pop on possession type of defense where as soon as you get the puck, guys are gone and let the skill take over. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe it's just a different way of thinking. The other thing is that sometimes you can't play pool with a rope. And if you're getting really upset, maybe it's the approach, maybe it's you're wanting them to be killers and maybe it's excessive of what you want. I don't know. But obviously bag skating, that might help out for 10 minutes or 2 games or something like that, but that's not going to last a whole lot. The competitive 3-on-3 games or whatever drills that you're doing, probably the best way to get some form of competitiveness is to add a result at the end. So whether it's the losers skate or the losers buy a slushy, whatever that is, like there's some kind of hold them accountable. And then the other thing would be is when someone does, there's got to be one person on that team. There has to be one person on a team that's willing to finish a check and be physical in some way. And if that's the standard that you want, then maybe that person gets a extra penalty kill, power player. You know, they see the reward go to that type of person. And I mean, because you could talk to kids till they're blue in the face about, you know, you have to be physical, you have to do this, you have to do that. But if that's not what they want to do, if that's what they think they're not that, then they're not going to do it unless there's a reason to, right?
Yeah, I agree with all that. The only thing I'll add, which doesn't really address the question necessarily, but this is why even I've noticed even at the U18s for me, I'm looking for guys that have different skill sets. So maybe this is a learning experience even for the coach of when you're going to pick your team for the next year. Maybe you take a guy who's maybe not necessarily as good of a skater or shooter or passer or something, but they just are willing to go and grind, and you can work with that kid, and it gives a little bit of a different flavor to the group. Because if you're saying the whole team, nobody wants to muck it out, well, there's a gap now with your team, and you can either, one strategy is you coach to it best you can, like you're saying, and then the other strategy is you keep that in mind. So next year, when you have the opportunity to pick the same kids again, maybe you get somebody different. Because I had
you got to remember you picked them, unless that's the only guy. You got 15 guys on your team that
for sure.
That's the only guys you had a choice.
Yeah, and that's why like there's 2 kids I'm trying to get right now, like specifically because they have that ability to be gritty. Like, so I was talking to the one today, I was talking to the other one a couple of days ago. Just like, I don't have that on my team yet. Like, I want that on my team because I can use that in certain situations that some other players aren't willing to do that, you know, and that's a valuable asset to have. So that's another way to think about it on the coaching side. Like when you go to pick your team, this is why, to quote Herb Brooks from Miracle, you're looking for the right ones. You're not looking for the best players, you're looking for the right ones, right? And so if you have everyone's the same guy, then you can run into this kind of thing where it's like you're missing this quality that you value as a coach, you know? So that'd be my only add. This one's kind of interesting. So this is from Jenna. She's a 2008 playing U13 AAA. So this would be girls, U13 AAA. I'm trying to get on the radar for NCAA Division III. I'm not flashy. I'm more of a shutdown forward who penalty kills, block shots, and tries to grind. At camps, I feel like the offensive girls always get noticed, even if they cheat defensively. What can somebody like me do to stand out when you're not putting up highlight reel type points? I feel like Division I might be a little out of my reach, but I do think I could get something with Division III. How do I make this happen? So that's kind of an interesting question because you can broaden it out to anybody. And you know what? I was having this exact conversation this morning with one of the families that we're talking to, and they were kind of just saying like the kid's not the offensive powerhouse, and it just feels like to this point in hockey, it's just been so often overlooked. Like these other qualities aren't really valued. So if you're going somewhere to try to make an impression, and it's not going to be offensively, how do you make an impression at a camp or tryout or junior thing or whatever if you're not the offensive person? What are some of the things we need to focus on, I guess?
Yeah, well, unfortunately for Jen, I'm not qualified in the girls' realm of hockey to explain or to understand what physicality means in women's hockey, because I know there's not body contact in the traditional way that the men's play, but there is some physicality. So I would use that to the best of my ability because that is something that always stands out. So the thing is she makes a very true statement, is a lot of the people that have the offensive flash are the ones that always people talk about, obviously, because it's easier to see. It sticks out like a sore thumb. But what I would say, if Jenna was my daughter, like I would say to my son, is that like when you are playing against someone that's offensive or someone that all the eyes are on, make sure take the eyes away from them by being like, take the glory from them. So for example, if you're playing a defenseman, let's say Zane Perek for the Saginaw, or who's going to be first overall or a first round pick this year, early round pick, like coming into this upcoming season, let's say as a boy, if you're playing against, I'll just say Belchez for the Windsor Spitfires, he's a big boy. Everyone's at the rink to see him. We all know that. When you go to a hockey game, you all know that. Gavin McKenna, when he plays, everyone's going to see him. When Sam Dickin plays, everyone's going to see him. When Zane Prek plays and Michael Misa play, everyone's at the rink. All the scouts are there to see him. So if they dance around guys and no one touches them, everyone sees them. But if you're the guy in their face every single second, like you start getting a couple ticks. It's like, this guy's, 5 times today he got in Misa's face. 3 times today he shut down McKenna. Like, it's a note. It's a note. And like every time that you're playing against the best players, if you're always in their face, that's how you get noticed. It's definitely not the same noticeability as a first round goal scorer, but you're there. And that doesn't mean because you're not today as valued, because I'm assuming, because I say this all the time, when it comes to drafting players, I get confused sometimes because it's like future and it's sometimes just a need. So when you get an offensive player, like one of the hardest things to do in hockey is to score goals. So like when you see offensive players, they get chosen first, whether there's a lot of doubts of their physicality, their toughness, their desire, and all that stuff. They can put pucks in the net, so they get kind of a little bit longer leash. So that's going to happen anyways, but that doesn't mean because you're the checker, you're the Guy Carbonneau type guy. That's the first guy I thought about being a defensive, like just a master at face-offs and shutting guys down. PK, he had a long career, right? I think he was still a first-round pick, so that might have been a stupid one. But you look at guys like that. So that's what I would say to Jen is like, you have to continue doing what you do. Because the most responsible hockey player that you just explained being the most responsible hockey player, that there's a necessity for those types of players. So if you are trying to do something that you're not, like the beautiful thing is with Jenna here, the beautiful thing here, Jenna, is that you can go out and play your game and just and improve. You understand what a 200-foot game is. You understand responsibility, and I would say just add a little bit of physicality to the players that are supposed to be the stars on the other team. And if you do that, so how you do that is before you play, get a pulse on who the big shots are on that team and get in their face. They'll hate your guts, but you'll get noticed. And if you do that, good. The beautiful thing about having that role is if you're good at winning faceoffs, you're good defensively, you're not flashy, you could always add goal scoring and shooting in the offensive side. You can always add that a little bit. I'm not saying 50 goals a year, but I'm talking about maybe you're going to play with someone that you realize, oh, this player is so good defensively and is so responsible as a player that when she does get the puck, she makes the right play. Maybe you're going to end up with someone that is going to, balance out your defensive side and bring out an offensive side. So stick 100% to your game, 1,000% to your game. Add maybe a little bit of grit, get in people's faces and frustrate those other people and make people say, I'm watching this person, but this person kept sticking out, and that's 3 games now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I agree with all that. I don't really have anything else to add. The only thing I was going to say that this kind of reminded me of, again, I was having this conversation this morning. Actually, I was talking to Andrew about this a little bit too, is just understanding roles and like what is actually valuable for teams at higher levels and trying to get out of the minor hockey mindset of what actually is a need that teams have. So I gave the example when I was talking with Andrew about it actually on the phone. He kind of told me the same story of something that happened to me. So it's funny because he was saying when he played, someone mentioned to him, "Oh, I think you should play like this guy," and he was kind of like, "What? Like play like that guy?" And I had the same thing. I think I've told you this before. Like one of my last years of junior, my coach said I should play like Scott Hartnell, and I was 20. I'd never heard that before. I didn't know how Scott Hartnell played. I never thought of playing like Scott Hartnell. None of that. But maybe he was right. Maybe if I would have done that, that would have made me a more valuable player because there's something maybe that I was missing. And obviously that it turned out that I was missing a lot of things because I didn't go on and make it to the NHL, right? So that's just something to keep in mind when you have these other qualities. I really like what you say about trying to model your game after somebody that is not, the 1% guy. Find someone, whether it's in the NHL for was it Jenna, and if you watch the PWHL, like who's a girl that you would model the game after that kind of fits how you see your strengths and try to see like how can I be more like that and play to those strengths and stuff like that, because that's where you kind of develop
a really good example of that was Charlie's line mate this year, Lev Katzen. So he's about 5'7", very, very good offensively, smart player, nice skater and all that kind of stuff. But if he just played that way, he would be a good player that has basically zero chance because he's small. But what this guy did, he racks up penalty minutes like crazy. And he told Charlie when he came, he was a lot like Brad Marchand. And everyone says stupid things like that, right? But you know who he played like? Brad Marchand. He would get, after almost every whistle, someone would have him in a headlock and stuff like that. It was just part of his game. So when you're watching that game and you see them playing the London Knights and you see Sam Dickinson or Bonk or whatever it is, they're all over him, and you see his number all the time, and then it shows like there's grit. He's not fighting, right? So like to Jenna's point, like he's not fighting. He's creating opportunities, and then he's in the mix, and he's always getting noticed.
Yeah, for sure. This is from Chris, parent. He's from Detroit. My son's a 15-year-old D. He's playing 15U AAA and works his ass off. He trains year-round and is the first one on the ice. But his coach clearly plays favorites, and the guys getting power play time are usually the ones whose parents are the loudest or most connected, in quotes. It's getting hard to keep my kid motivated when effort doesn't seem to matter. Would you ever step in as a parent in this case, or just let your kid take it on the chin? So I guess I kind of read that wrong. Would you ever step in as a parent? Question. Next statement. Or just let your kid take it on the chin. So I don't know if, because we're in the summertime, I don't know if he would be going into 15U or just finishing, but whatever. So what are your thoughts there?
I think the answer is pretty simple to that one. It's a great opportunity as a parent to help your kid become face situations. So as a parent, like when we get emails and questions like that, I always have the caveat that you're, including myself, that you might be seeing it through a dad's lenses. We always like to see our kids in a different light, and no matter how hard you try, I mean, you're looking at your kid in a different way. So let's just say that everything is true, okay? And even if it's not, it makes it even better. My advice would be talk to your kid, tell him that he needs to talk to his coach, not totally confrontational, but have a conversation. Goes a long way. So the benefits of that is that you've spent some time with your child to talk about it, because maybe he's totally fine, right? Sometimes it's mom and dad that are. I've had that conversation with my kids several times. Like, no, it's all good. It's like, okay, what are you gonna do? Like, right? If they're happy, but if they do feel that way, then it's like, okay, like how do we want to handle this? What we have to do is you have to learn how to talk to an adult, and without being a very confrontational. Coach, can I talk to you? Or can you set aside a few minutes to talk to me and ask the question and get some reasoning? Hold the coach a little bit accountable, and then and see if he gives you the time of day, see if he cares, see if he knows even what's going on. Maybe there's very good explanations. Like I said before, one time, one of my players that I coached, the dad was like, can I just ask you a hockey question? It's not a dad. He goes, I want a hockey question. I said, 100%. Why do not let my son ever go on the power play? And I said, it's a good question. I said, here's the answer is if I put him on the power play, as he has been a few times, I find that he bobbles the puck and he just panics at the blue line. You want him to get a scholarship or play pro hockey? I said, I'm just putting him in for the majority of the time in areas where I think he's going to shine. And he's a shutdown D, does a very good job. He adds some points here and there, but running a power play is not his thing. And he goes, it basically was a little bit longer, a little bit more explained, but he goes, good answer, thank you. He goes, thank you. He goes, yeah, that makes sense. You're trying to protect him. I go, yeah, protect him, but like help the team too. But protect him, like that's not where he shines. So I'm not saying that you can never play a power play, because he has, but it's like that's not where he shines. So why would I want to put him there? So he had a good understanding, right? And he was good with it. Ended up playing at Harvard. Yeah. Not bad. Not bad. Right. So, so anyways, I think it's a good exercise for any player at any level, even like a pro sometimes, like a lot of the times, instead of having an agent call, have a conversation, man. Have a conversation. And then it goes sideways. And maybe the conversation needs to be, maybe the first one initially comes back and says, Dad, this is what the coach said. Are you happy or not? Whatever. Maybe he didn't give you the time of day. Well, maybe the next one, you and your son are going to go in together, but the son's going to do the talking, and then you could add to it after. But I think it's a good exercise to have your son or daughter talk to the coaches, learn to be an adult, learn how to communicate, learn how to solve some problems. Goes a long way.
Yep. Good. Very thorough. Next one's from Noah. He's a player from BC. This is a cool one. I like this one. I'm following a hockey strength program from a trainer I found on Instagram. It looks legit, squats, deadlifts, core, etc. But it's been 4 months, and I honestly don't feel that different on the ice. I'm training 3 times a week and eating pretty clean, but I'm starting to wonder, how do I actually know if my off-ice work is helping my game? Should I be seeing more impact by now? That's a cool question.
Yeah,
I like that
how
question.
old is Noah?
He didn't say how old, but I mean, if he's old enough to find a program on Instagram, I'd have to think he's 15 at least, maybe older. That would be my guess. So 15 and older. Assumptions. That's actually a good thing to point out. People, when you write in questions, the more detail, the better, more tailored answer we can give. So he said it's been 4 months, which seems like a long time. But let's assume he's over 15, in the puberty age, all that, where training makes sense. How do you know if what you're doing is actually helping? Like, so that's why I thought it was interesting, because he said he found a program on Instagram too, which is cool. But what are your thoughts on that?
I'll probably let you answer more, but my thoughts on that are, doesn't necessarily translate into making you a better hockey player. It makes you stronger. Should make you stronger. You should see a body composition difference, like leaner. You should be lifting heavier. That doesn't necessarily make you a better hockey player. It's just a necessary part of being a hockey player. Where you probably notice it the most, presuming that you're already a decent skater, you have good balance and strength in you, different things like that, you're probably going to see a difference in just getting knocked off the puck and keeping your balance in those situations, being better in the corners and in those stick battles and stuff like that. But to say that your game is just going to go off the charts good, that's not necessarily what's going to happen because you work out.
Right.
Because you could be a really shitty hockey player and you work out, now you're a strong, shitty hockey player. You could be a superstar and everything's kind of easy, and then you work out and you are a really strong superstar. So it's like, it doesn't really necessarily translate into being a good hockey player.
Right. So I have like a couple thoughts. The first is, if again, assuming you're, let's say 15 or so, I don't actually think the program matters that much, because you're so young that, assuming it's some kind of generic training program at 15, it's probably fine. So I don't think it would be the program per se that would be a problem. Obviously there could be an exception to that if you got duped into some shitty program that's for bodybuilders or something, but even that you're going to get some benefits right out of it. So I wouldn't say it's the program. But how do you know that your off-ice off-ice work is helping? I think your point is very well taken, that working out doesn't make you a better hockey player. It gives you tools to perform better, but it doesn't actually make you a better hockey player. I think if I can put myself back at that age, so when I was 15, 16, kind of going into the U13 age, if that's what we're assuming, I remember like I trained hard. Like there's one thing I can for sure be proud of, is when I was like 15 to 20, even up to I was like 23, like I worked hard in the gym. And I remember
you guys were thick and shredded.
Yeah, like I remember the moments noticing that my work was paying off when I played U18. So the competition wasn't necessarily as good because a lot of the top guys would have moved on. But I remember just being able to do things that I couldn't do before physically. And it had nothing to do with my skills necessarily, but it would just be like, wow, I burned that guy really easily. Or wow, that guy came to hit me and I knocked him over like super easily. Like I remember that, like seeing that in real time happen around that U18 age, where I was like, okay, like I'm getting stronger, like I'm getting bigger. And then obviously the eye test, like you look at yourself in the mirror, you can see body composition changes and stuff like that. I think that those were kind of some of the moments that made me notice that I was improving and my off-ice work was kind of working. Now, what I remember realizing that didn't work for me was the conditioning stuff. You can come in. The conditioning stuff for me was pop a squat if you want to hang out. The conditioning stuff for me was, I realized that wasn't working. as I got a little bit older. I didn't have enough of that in my training. It wasn't enough of a. So once I built my base up when I was young doing general training things, I didn't start to specialize into the hockey specific, so to speak, fast enough, which I should have done. So from an on ice perspective, I would notice like I had like fatigue, or I think I was overtraining at the same time because I would still go in the gym like 5 times a week when I was playing junior like a dummy, but I didn't know any better necessarily. So those are some of the things to kind of look for. Is like when you're on the ice, are there physical clues of like, oh, I'm standing up guys a lot more. I'm not getting knocked around as much. I feel like I can burn guys a little bit more. Like those are I can pull away from guys a little bit quicker. You should notice those things. If you're not noticing those things, then maybe it's a function of you're actually just not doing your program as seriously as you think you are. You're not working quite as hard, because I don't think that it would be the program necessarily at that age. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I also would say this, like this is something that you can glaze over, right? Just because you work out, I've always said this, going to the gym, getting a cardio thing, that's your bare minimum.
Yeah.
That's your bare minimum. Because you went to the gym and let's say you worked out really, really hard. That's good. But guess who else is? Anybody else that's serious about the game is doing the exact same thing, minimum. Right? There's a few people that are shocked, right? Like with the one kid here that works out, the amount of other things that they do, like just getting to the gym and working out, they go, geez. Go, yeah. Well, there's this and this week too. And they're like, well, and this. They go, well, yeah, but that's the bare minimum is lifting weights. The bare minimum is going on the ice and doing some skill stuff. That's the bare minimum. So when you do the bare minimum, you shouldn't be overpowering everybody you play with, because everybody will be doing that. So, and it's not saying I'm going nuts on working out, but what you're doing is the bare minimum keeps you like baseline, keeps you in, like, so you can compete a little bit. It's the other things that you're going to do that make all the difference in the world. So it's always funny. I'm not cutting the kid up because he's actually doing a good job and found a way to go. But like, don't ever get fooled that because you did something makes you totally committed.
Yeah.
Right. Because there's like for example,
there are levels to this.
There's levels to this. Yeah, like that's the first step, is to being committed. First step is is practicing and focusing on the practice, and then working out and eating right. Those are all base minimums. Now, what else are you going to do? Do you have a track coach? Like, that's always a great step. Do you have Pilates or yoga? I'm not saying that's what you have to do, but that's maybe one. Do you have boxing or Muay Thai or something like that? That's another thing. Do you have? What else do you do? Do you ever go to the hill once a week and run a hill? Do you ever sit there and just do something like wrist curls for an hour or half an hour? It might not seem like a lot, but that is going to take your shot to a different level, right? Do you ever do neck training? Do you ever sit there and just try to get a neck like Matt Serra?
Yeah.
He's a UFC fighter, for anyone who doesn't know. But if you have a neck like Matt Serra, there's a good chance you won't get knocked out or concussed. Do you do a stretch routine on your joints and stuff like I'm not saying it's not everything you do in a day, but it's like, can you do something other than what the average person is going to do? If you don't, you can't really expect to be bowling over people on the ice because you worked out once a day.
Yeah, right.
That's minimum, man.
Yeah.
I work out every day.
Okay, next one's from Dan. He's a coach from Ottawa. We're in a U15 league where the coaches are preaching development, but the parents, and honestly the other teams, care about nothing but winning. We're getting smoked some nights because we're rolling lines and giving ice to bubble players. And now our team parents are questioning whether we care. If you were in this situation, how do you hold your ground without losing the room or the trust of the parents?
Okay, who's preaching development? Is it the organization or the parents? Or
the way he worded it was, we're in a U15 league where the coaches are preaching development. Okay. But he's a coach, so himself is preaching development, I guess. Maybe the organization.
The answer to this, honestly, is that you're not going to ever make parents happy. It's just not going to happen. It's just the truth. It's because I've always noticed that if you talk about development, then the better players, the parents of the better players, not all the time, but most of the time, they want to win. Man, you need some players here. We got to win. My kid's a good player. If you're on the lower end of the totem pole, then you of course you want development because everybody gets to play, right? If we go the other way and we're here to win, then the top guys get more ice time or more quality ice time than the players that should be developing more are going to complain that they're not getting the ice. So you're never going to win. So again, it comes down to, in my opinion, stick to your guns. You know, life has if you live your life with a philosophy, then you can stick to your guns, right? So for example, if in outside of hockey, if you just say, I'd never touch drugs of any sort, of any kind, I will not smoke weed, I won't do this, that, and the other thing, when it comes along, the principles of life will not allow you to do that. So it's the same thing as this. When you're coaching a hockey team, one of the first things you do is like, this is the philosophy of this team. Make it really clear. We're here to win, or we're here to develop, or we're going to develop. And what I see out of developing is we're going to end up winning some games, blah, 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 blah. And does anybody, you can say what you need to say now, because that's the way it's going to be. And then it's out, it's done. That's my philosophy. And then you live by what you believe.
Yeah, I think my only
people have a choice, I think.
Yeah, I think, but yeah, maybe my only thing is just the fact that he said we're getting smoked some nights because we're rolling lines and giving ice to bubble players. Like, if you're getting waxed every night, that's also not fun. So like, try to win a game, maybe. Like, maybe you can adapt your style a little bit, like for certain games where you know that you can win, just to show that you still care to win. Like, you don't want to not care about winning at all.
Yeah,
right?
You can do both. Like, yeah, I'm not saying if you because if a lot of teams choose to try to win and they don't win, or they don't win the championship or whatever. So it's like, but you can do a little bit of both, right? Like development. This is the same thing as skills. Like, what is skills? People have a view of what a skill is. It's like, is it pylons? Is it pep? Is it power skating? Or is it, you can do a skill in a battle drill, right? So there's like, your perception of what skill is one thing. But development, what is development? So does that mean that you can't win? Does that mean that you can't be a good hockey team? No, you can still develop within winning. So like, but that's the art of coaching, right? And experience and doing things. So, but my first thing would be, you address it. This is what I want to do. But of course, yes, you should always try to win. I mean, you should always try to win. But at what expense does it mean? Some guys never get to play. Well, when you're young kids, no. But
yeah, he also didn't say the level either.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. If
it could be playing for
your house league. Like,
could be playing for house league, and you got the blue team, and that was like the guys that were the leftovers, right? And they got, late registrations, you're on the blue team, and you get your ass kicked every game. It's like, it's no fun, for sure.
This is from, I like this one too. This is right up my alley. This is from Luke. This is a Minnesota kid. I'm 16-year-old winger and super dialed on nutrition. I don't drink pop, bring my own food to tournaments, and try to prep meals. And I get chirped constantly for being a tryhard, in quotes. Even some coaches make some subtle jokes, but I feel better when I feel right. How do you guys recommend handling pressure to try and fit in, but while staying focused on performance? This is really well written. Do you ever reach a point? I'm like 16 years old. Holy. Do you ever reach a point where doing the right thing isn't worth the social headache? That's an interesting question. So, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. Successful people don't fit in, man. People that do something different, like, they just don't fit in. It's a different world. George St. Pierre, I just finished reading his book for probably the 37th time, and he was just talking about that. Like, people don't understand my world, and you know what, son? What's his name? Luke. If this is what you want to do, and this is who you feel like you want to be, then you be that. There's no problem with that, man. It's and if you see the benefits, which I certainly do, fantastic. Now the side, which you have to understand, anytime you're an outlier or you're being different than other people, you're going to get chirped. Period. Now, there's a lot of different areas you could be. It's so funny that we can talk about this, the nutrition, how people can chirp them. But if he was doing some of these new social things, like, you're not allowed to do that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
Yeah.
No, do your stuff. Like, if you believe in what you're doing, absolutely do your stuff. But there always is a consequence of when you're doing something different. Because what happens is people know what's right and what's wrong, like, really and truly, right? And then, so if I look at someone like that can eat clean all the time and just has the willpower or the discipline to work out, do things right, like, it kind of could rub me the wrong way. It's like, just relax, man, because I want to relax or we want to relax. Like we're not committed like you. So like just tone it down because it makes us look bad. Like that's an insecurity coming through sometimes. And sometimes if you're projecting it a certain way, it's like when if you talk to someone in any diet that people do, like carnivore, when someone's a carnivore, a vegan, a vegetarian, whatever discipline they're in, the ones that preach it, it's like, can you please just shut your pie hole? Like you eat vegetables, good for you. I'm really proud of you. And I eat meat. Are you like, no one's better, man. You live your life, I live mine, and it's all good. It's when you project it that's a pain in the ass. But if you were turned into a vegetarian, I wouldn't even know and I wouldn't even care.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who cares? But so don't project it. That's is what I would say.
That was going to be my only
this is
thing.
your domain here. So
I was going to say, having said that, like successful people are different and all that stuff. There's a way to do it to try to minimize the fact that you're different, right? Which I would say is important because some people will be so obviously different and stick to it so much that they actually just kind of ostracize themselves from the group, which you don't want to do that either, right? You still want to be in with your team and part of the group and all that stuff because there's a lot of valuable things to that. So you don't want to be so weird or so different that you actually just people don't want you on their team anymore, right? So there's a way to do it. So if you're going to be this guy that I'm the first guy to say, hey, that's awesome. You want to eat right and get all your meals in order and all that stuff. That's great. But exactly to your final point there, it's like if you're going around preaching your meal stuff to everybody, like the thing that I used to do as a weird guy myself, that's totally on my own page, I would try to hide as much of it as I could, and there's ways where you can't avoid it. And like, you just end up being the weird guy and they caught you this time and you have to take the chirps and all that, but you don't have to be like obvious about the fact that you do some things differently, So, and that's how I always tried to be when I would bring my own food or whatever. I would try to do it on my own timetable when it's not in front of everybody's face, because I know I'm going to get cooked for it. It used to be like that with the studying for me too, when I was at the university, because I was one of the few guys in university on my team that cared about school, and I'd have to study. So like we'd be on the way home from games and all this stuff, and I'd have to pull out my freaking books and my laptop and I have my little side table and I'd be studying on the bus, and there's very few other guys doing that, and I would just get carved the whole time. And that I didn't care. I couldn't do anything about that one. And I didn't feel bad about that either, because like, okay, you don't study then, man. I don't know what to tell you. But there's just going to be that social element for people that aren't doing what you're doing, like you're saying. But at the same time, you can balance it by not always having the fact that you're different in everybody's face and participating in other things when you can. So even for me, like going out was another one. He's a little bit younger, so that's not really a concern for him yet. But in university, the guys would go out every weekend. I couldn't do that. Two, I was not willing to do that. So I would pick my spot. I would say like in a month, okay, this is a time where I can go hang out with the guys and be fully in on it, be fully part of it, participate in whatever they're doing, and not be the weird guy for that night. And that helped bridge some of the gap. So I would do things like that when I was playing and when I was a little bit younger, to try to not have that pain in the ass of like the guys always on you about the weird thing. So it's just the way that you go about it, I think, is the best way to kind of deal with it. But I would never say to sacrifice what you're doing.
Isn't it funny though? Like if you go through life and you look at, if someone orders, let's say we're leaving here, we're gonna, I don't know, we're going to PowerTech at the other place. We all get in the same car, and Guardsy goes, I just want to stop and get a coffee and grab a donut too. I feel like a donut today. We would like maybe chirp, but probably not. You want a donut, get a donut, right? And if we did that if he did it every day, came in with a donut, we'd be like, we'd notice it, but we'd be like, yeah, whatever. Like it's acceptable, kinda. Like we judge a lot. No, but like, but no, but like when someone goes on a new, like, so what I'm saying is when people do dumb shit, or like if we go out and let's just say we went to have at lunch today, and we're gonna pick on Guardsy here, and Guardsy goes, I'll have like one of those triple freaking smash burgers and some fries with gravy. We'd probably go, just having some fries and gravy. And if you ate like that a lot, we'd be like, okay, he's not the healthiest guy, but whatever. Yeah. But if Guardsy changed his tune, oh man, you're gross. if Guardsy changed it to all of a sudden
Yeah,
said,
clean it up.
we're
Yeah.
going to go and I'm going to have salad with chicken every time we go, a lot of people would start saying, well, like, what's going on?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
are you taking care of it? Like, it's
Yeah.
stupid. Like,
Yeah.
you're an idiot.
Right.
Someone gets hammered, right? You go out and drink and you have a pizza and you just go and you do shots and, you know, you're out of control. People don't go like, oh, man, like, I can't believe you're doing that. But if you went out and didn't have a drink, people would be like, I can't believe you're having water.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you get
That's so
criticized
true,
for
man.
doing
Yeah.
for doing good things, right?
Yeah,
Is
it's
my
so
point.
true. It is
Because
pretty.
the normal behavior is to
Yeah, do
to
the
fit
negative
in.
thing. Yeah,
fit in,
fit in.
fit in.
Isn't it just ass backwards, as they say?
To coin a phrase, yeah.
To coin a phrase. Okay, we'll do one more. There's 2 more or 3 more, but we're gonna do one more because it's been an hour now. This one I like. I think you'll like this one. This is Melissa. She is from New Jersey. Would New Jersey be part of the OHL draft?
Yes and no,
Yes and no.
I think.
Okay.
There are some kids from New Jersey, yes.
Okay, because she mentions the
think.
OHL in this one, so we'll see
It's part of
I
the
think it is
Maritimes
part
too.
of
I
it.
think
a line.
there's something, yeah.
Okay, so anyways, I'll take it for what it is. So
Okay.
it's from Melissa, parent, New Jersey. We're weighing 2 very different paths for our son: a U.S. prep school with academic support and a development model, or going to Ontario and trying to make the OHL route, working through Junior A. He's a skilled 16-year-old forward, but still small and not super physical yet. When you're looking at long-term development and opportunities, how do you compare the 2 paths, especially when the financial and lifestyle pieces are so different? So I don't have. This must be a kid that's pretty good. If they're weighing.
There has been some kids. So to answer the question, yes, New Jersey must be part of it because there's some kids that were drafted from New Jersey this year.
Right. So I wasn't sure about that. I never know
played
exactly
with
where
I played with a couple New Jersey guys too, but that's a million years ago.
Yeah, I never know exactly
Yeah.
where the line goes down south. But but anyway, so they're from New Jersey. So weighing prep school versus trying to come to Ontario, play Junior A of some sort. As a 16-year-old, they didn't give enough context on like where in Ontario they would look to go, assuming it's not a Junior A team next year. But maybe it could be. I don't know. So, what are your thoughts on those 2 paths for the kid at this point? Assuming he's a good player, if he's has Junior A prospects working through the OHL versus a higher end prep school type thing.
Yeah, can't answer your question, but I have an opinion. Not even an opinion. I just based on the new rules as well. But if you before the new NCAA OHL eligibility rules changed, then you had to make an actual absolute decision, right? So that would be and that decision would definitely be how important is school to you, how important that part is, and if you wanted to go to college more than anything else. And a lot of the times when you talk to American kids or families, going to school, playing for college is the greatest thing in the world. Like that's almost the end game for a lot of them, right? And understandably, that's how you grow up. In Canada, a lot different. A lot of kids would say, I want to play in the NHL to get there. I want to play in the OHL or CHL or go to college. But typically it's number one. Typically, I know someone's going to say my kid wasn't, but whatever. But typically that's the difference, right? So the beautiful thing about the rule changes, that gives you opportunity. So if you value the prep school because of the education and whatever your core values are on that, then that might be a hard one to sell you on. I'm not trying to sell you, but that you got to go with what you're. If it's at hockey or is it a school decision? I love the OHL and the CHL, and I love it because the hockey's great. The organizations, for the most part, most of them are really good. You get I'm sure it's the same in college. And it's the same in the NHL. Some are better than the others. Some you gotta, if you have any questions, then you might want to back off a little bit. But for the most part, the OHL is an awesome league. And the beautiful thing now is actually can't go wrong because there's no risk of losing your NCAA eligibility. So you can't really make a mistake if there is a such thing as a mistake. So I think the OHL, I don't know enough about U.S. prep schools, to be honest with you, to give an opinion on how the hockey is, the structure, anything like that. So I can't really say. But if you have the ability to play in the Ontario Hockey League, Quebec, or the Western League, and and you're good enough to do it, I mean, why wouldn't you, really? they're great leagues, great development. And I mean, the bulk of the players come from the CHL, right? To getting drafted. I mean, and now, I mean, so anyways, and if you don't, you have the other good thing you have is like you always have a little bit of time. Like at 16, like I know people think that we're moving fast, but not necessarily. Like you'll be 17 next year. There's still lots of time to be a good junior player before being a pro. Like there's a lot of time. So if you're really not sure of what you want to do, then sitting back and saying like I'll wait and see. I talked to someone about an agent yesterday. They called me about an agent and do you know them, this, that, and the other thing. And this group has approached us too, and it's a younger kid. And I said, at the end of the day, you got nothing but time. I said it's not necessary to do all these things. You have time. So if you commit to something at 13 years old, that you don't even know what's what. So you have time. Wait. It's not that important. Like as far as the agent goes. So as far as if you're not sure of what you want to do, you have time, right? Like everyone's in a rush to go somewhere real fast, and then they realize maybe that was a big step. So, core values again. If you really value school, then and the prep model in that area, then do it. But I'll tell you, if you're a good enough player, the CHL is awesome, and they provide schooling, and it's good. And again, it's one of these things that it's because some people could argue, well, that's not really, they don't really care about school. It's like, no, it's what you put into it. You get exactly what you put into it. If you don't care about school, then they're not going to get down your throat. They want you to be a hockey player first, and I would argue the same with colleges, right?
Yeah,
you get what you put in.
I would give I think a little more direct, just with a lot of the conversations actually having with the college coaches, assuming that's the path you'd want to go towards if you go prep school, whatever. I think your point exactly. You don't have to pick, and you can't make a mistake, and it doesn't really. It's about your values and all that stuff. Having said that, talking with a lot of the schools and the coaches, and it's not just one or two. It's like a huge group of them. They scout, at least right now. It's a fresh transition, so they're all excited about the access to the CHL. Like they are scouting from the CHL.
Yeah, very true.
Right?
Very
so it's
true.
like they've said OHL, Q, Dub, the Dub, and then the USHL. So those four leagues, the best opportunity to get seen by NHL scouts, NCAA scouts, and play in if not the best development league in the world, definitely a contender in the OHL. I would try to go do that personally.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I wouldn't have said that before the eligibility change necessarily, right? So this is just from information I've heard from the coaches themselves of the NCAA schools, assuming that is where you're leading if you go to the prep school thing, whatever. That they still look at prep schools. There's still a good model in the prep schools and all that stuff. I think that's all still good.
Yeah, if you're tearing it up, people will know anyways.
Yeah,
but that's a very good point.
Yeah, if you can go to the OHL and go and play, if it's in a year or two, like I would suggest people go and do that, at least until it's more clear how their recruiting is changing.
Fair enough.
Right?
That's very true.
So that would be my the only reason I feel like I could give a more direct answer than that now, just from having those conversations. So
the OHL, the CHL, it's awesome. It really is an awesome league. It's and again, you put the other thing on that though, like again, you don't necessarily have to put a timeline on things. Like for the kids, so you don't have to be in the OHL at 16. It's not possible anyways for everybody to be. You don't even have to be there at 17, but like that would be something to shoot for. But there's time. So
I've said, sorry to cut you off, but I've said this now too, even about if you have the opportunity to go play 1 year in the OHL now, you can, right?
100%.
Like if you're 19 and 100%. You had your 18-year-old year, you had a ridiculous year in junior A and nobody heard of you before, and you can go to a camp and try to make a team. Like maybe you can, and there's no risk to you now, right?
100%.
So that'll be interesting to see as well.
Yep.
But,
very true.
Okay, I'm going to stop because it's been over an hour now. That was fun. I like those. Okay, bye.